Hello and good morning. Thank you for joining in our weekly Wednesday webinar. Today's session, we're going to be inviting in our subject matter expert, Darren Pierce. His contact information is up on the slide. Hopefully you can see that. This presentation is also being recorded. And before we get started, I wanted to let you know that you are welcome to send in any questions or any inquiries you have for me. I am your moderator, Leilani Evans, Business Development Manager here at TAG, and we're happy to have you guys. If you, again, have any questions or would be interested in a more tailored demo or a more in-depth demo of this related to this presentation, again, just feel free to let me know either through the Q&A box or the chat box as well. I'll be monitoring those. So with that, I'll go ahead and give a quick introduction. Darren, our presenter, presents with over 20 years of experience with the Sage Timberline software platforms, specifically excelling in Sage estimating. With a wealth of knowledge, Darren has a great understanding of the construction industries and our clients' needs and desires in the estimating technology world. Prior to providing sales technology support at Sage, Darren was a business owner in the landscape industry for over 10 years and thoroughly understands the needs of business owners and estimators. So with that, I'll go ahead and hand it off to Darren. Thank you.
Thanks, Leilani, and welcome everyone. Hope you're having a great Wednesday, getting over the hump and into the weekend. What we're going to be focusing our attention on today is buyout. Once that job has been awarded, and we're going through the buyout process, we want to offer you a new solution. It's actually new to us, so we just released this a couple months ago, and giving you the opportunity to streamline the process and do the analysis, the analysis of pricing, competitive pricing analysis. Let's put it that way. But before we jump into the buyout solution, I want to give you kind of an idea of the integration points that we have with the estimating. Of course, makes sense, right? We're creating the estimate, and then downstream from that will be the buyout. One of the things that we look at within our estimating software, and I always look to not only streamline the process, but give you those hints on how we can automate things as well. Within this estimate, and I like to use a lot of colors because those are designated for labor, material, vendor, so on and so forth. You don't have to have that rainbow of colors if you don't want them, but I have vendor name right here, and it says Unified Concrete. There's one thing that we can do within this system that will give you an automation when we do takeoff, and that's in our bill of materials. So if I go in here, I go and edit, there's Unified Concrete. Every time I take off an item, a material item that our vendor is associated with, it will automatically select them for our vendor. So there'll be some automation that we'll see downstream from that, and take a look at that. One other thing, since we have kind of a broad audience that we have on with us today, it's nice to show integration points that we have. So when I take a look at this estimate, and let's say we've been awarded this estimate, well, what's the next steps going to happen? Well, of course, buyout, right? But when we look at it, we want to send this over into our job costing accounting system. So this is a cost code structure that we can see within the estimate broken out. We're going to roll these up in the manner that makes sense to you and your company. And not only that, will we be able to see it here, but with a click of a button, I can send this over into job cost, and we're going to save the back office a tremendous amount of time entering information, entering data. When we can just click a button, hours saved every day. We can finally have a lunch. We can finally get out early. Or we can take that time and apply it to more jobs, more profitability there. So when we look at that, we want to give you that opportunity to do that. So let's jump into buyout. And when I take a look at buyout, it isn't, dare I say the word, elegant looking UI. I mean, it just is a nice looking solution, and it has a stepped process methodology ribbon that totally makes sense. We go from buyout package to group items, select vendors, commit, so on and so forth. So it's pretty straightforward, and it's easy to learn this product. So let's get into a couple of the key things about the system. First of all, when we look at this, we'll be able to see all of our estimates that are listed right here. The one thing I always like to bring up during this portion of the presentation is where as Leilani, thank you for mentioning this, I've been with Timberline Sage for the last 20 years and working with a ton of construction companies. And with that being said, working with those individual companies, I found that whoever does the buyout within those organizations may be different groups, different departments. Could be the estimators, could be the project managers, could be the back office individuals as well. So there's a dependency upon the company of who's actually going to buy out the job. Well, with that being said, this application can sit on your desktop, but you don't have to have the estimating on there. You can of course see those estimates, and you don't need a use of estimating to work with this application either. It's not dependent upon anything else. So with that being said, I can see all my estimates. I can buy out as many estimates, projects at one time as I want. Maybe you're going to get those volume discounts that you may want there. So then we look at the jobs that we have within our Sage 300, Sage 100 accounting systems. We can see those listed in here and apply the downstream commitments to those software. Let's say the Sage 300, Sage 100 software accounting suites. And then we can also, within one of those applications, the Sage 300 accounting suite, we can track a job within a job. So you have the initial contract that you're working with, and then they want to add on something, an addition, a pool, a swimming pool that you want to track the cost separately, but roll it up to the main job. You can do that as well. So lots of functionality that we have there. The other thing is not only do we buy out material and subcontract, but we can buy out the labor. Let's say that you are at your capacity with your labor and you want to get involved, you want to be able to do this job anyway, send that out to the subcontractors. The problem what we had back in the olden days when we had this solution in our pervasive environment is we only had material and subcontract. Now we've added labor, equipment, and other as well. So all those categories you can buy out if that is a need for your company. So once we go through the process of doing that, selecting that job that we're going to do, and I've only selected one, we can of course do multiple jobs if we need to. This is a list of all of the materials and subcontract items from the estimate. Now you'll notice there's some background coloring of yellow behind some of these items, and then other items down here that we look at, we have no backlighting or back coloring at all. So remember how I selected Unified Concrete as the material vendor that we're going to be working with. Well, what we want to do is give you the opportunity to skip steps if it makes sense for your company. So I can set it up that these are automatically set up, and it's going to take it a step further when we get into the next steps where we're selecting vendors. Now, when we're looking at this information here, multiple things we can do. We can combine items. We can see the unassigned only. So I just want to see the things that have not been assigned to a quote group. I can show details. These are additional details sitting underneath. If we need that information, we have access to do that. And then how many times do you get into a situation where, oh, I'm ready to buy this job out, but it doesn't have an item that I need? Well, one-time items that we can create and then send back to our database within the estimating application. So give you a lot of versatility, flexibility with the solution. Now, how many times when you're looking at a job where we've estimated it one way, but we want to buy it out in another manner? So there's the 16 and 48 CSI division breakouts that we'd like to see our estimates broken out. But what if you wanted to break it out by a phase of the project? We don't want materials. We don't want those things sitting out on the site, getting broken, busted, stolen, whatever happens to those materials. So we want to maybe buy out those materials and store them, or buy them all out and then store them somewhere else, but give you the capability to have a more phased approach to that buyout process. So we can do it by bill of materials or building or lot or phase of project or unit format. So I'll go ahead and refresh that data in there. Now we can see this broken out in more of a unit format. So you're not relegated to one manner of buying out these jobs. You have a lot of flexibility to to attack it the way that you would do it within your business, within your workflows, and we want to make it easy for you as well. So we'll go back to group base. Now, the thing that you notice here is as I drill down into these specific folders, and this is a 16 divisional breakout, is you're going to see the items specific to that folder, that division. Again, once again, if we did it more of a phased approach, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, we could see it in that manner as well. So with that being said, let's do a simplistic, let's go ahead and create a quote group, and I'll keep it simple, framers. My capabilities of typing 30 words per minute, that was the best I could ever do, so that's pretty sad, but anyway. So when you look at that, that's why I keep descriptions very short in my presentations. I don't want to get into a book here. When we're looking at that, framers, we're good to go. So now we've associated these items with a quote group. Simple as that, we're to the next step. So now over here, what you're going to see is you're going to see material quotes and subcontract quotes. And like I said, you can do labor, equipment, and other categories as well. Well, if I jump into framers here, there's all those items down here, but there's no vendors, there's no subcontractors applied to this at this point. Well, let's resolve that. Let's go ahead and include a vendor. The thing that you look at here is we, of course, have an address book that spans the whole entire suite of both the Sage 300 and the Sage 100 applications. So when you look at that, we want to have that continuity. And I'm going to just say framers, simply enough. And there you go. We've got framers in there. Now, what we're going to be doing is applying dates and date received and this information. Down here, we're going to be doing a comparative analysis of pricing between these vendors. Well, let's jump over to our unified concrete. Now, of course, we saw the unified concrete set up as a vendor within our estimate. It skipped that last step, the quote grouping step, and automatically set it up in here. Now, what's interesting about this, though, is it also set up Columbia Concrete and Northwest Subcontractor in here as well. Well, the reason why it did that, there is a setting that allows us to say, well, for every one of the contractors that we have pricing for, and you can see them all listed here, I'm just clicking through them. We've got pricing for all of these contractors stored in here. It could be unlimited, right? We could, if you're working with 100 different subcontractors and vendors and suppliers and all of that fun stuff, we can track all of their pricing in here. The thing is we had pricing for those items that automatically took it to the next step. So with these guys, of course, we've got some that are overdue. We need to get our update pricing, and of course, we can be alerted to that. And then some out there that I've got set to 2025, which definitely we know that lumber fluctuates about daily, so we're going to have to update that. But when we look at that, we have the capability to track all of those pricing schedules that we get from suppliers, subcontractors, vendors. And that's separate from the database that we have within our estimating system. Of course, you can use this pricing in there if you wanted to, but give you that capability to do that. So as you can see down here, we've got detailed pricing analytics that we can do, comparisons that we can look at right here, comparing those side by side. Up here is a high-level look at the variance and the profitability that we're going to look. Now, unified concrete was our baseline for the estimate, and these guys, of course, are way out of bounds here. But we track dates received, so on and so forth. Well, we'll take it to the next step. I'm not going to do a bunch of these, but let's at least do one, though. And we want to send it out request for quotes. So now, interestingly enough, we still have print and fax in here. Some of us out there are still using faxing. I don't really haven't met a contractor for a while that is, but we still make it available to you. So if you're still working in that methodology, we still accommodate that. And of course, email. But the reason why I'm jumping on that is we can be selective on who we're going to send these to. And we can just go ahead and say print preview. I just wanted to show you the document that we're sending out. So here's a list of all of those items, materials that we need. And of course, given us told, they're going to give us their unit price, their information. This at this point is static, but within the next month or so, this will be open for modification, customization, put your logo, all of the good stuff that you want to apply here. But at this point, it is a static document that pretty much covers your grounds, though, covers everything that you really need. But we want to be able to put our logo and some other things up here, and that will definitely be coming in the very near future. When we email, of course, we have the capability to send out all of this information in an Excel spreadsheet. So it's a workbook. And we're going to accommodate some functionality. At this point, it's manual entry of the pricing. But in the future, in the near future, we're going to use this Excel spreadsheet as a click button. And we're also going to have a web interface for this solution in the future too, so that we can communicate and interact with those vendors and suppliers and subcontractors in a web portal. So lots of things are going to be happening with the solution. But in this case, what we can do is we can attach a document, have that there, send it out the door. So I won't go ahead and do that. I'll just say okay, and we're good to go. So makes sense, right? The workflow is just totally making sense. Buyout, group items, select vendors, and now commit. So in this case right here, we're going to select this quote and say commit. Now, of course, everything that I'm doing here can be on a much grander scale than what I'm doing. I'm keeping it simplistic for presentation purposes. I mean, we can buy out a job, one job, multiple jobs at one time. And of course, we can have as many commitments listed in here as well. So here's where you're going to see the benefits of downstream of having our Sage 100, Sage 300 accounting suites, because this information will flow into those applications, our job cost applications, and save the back office, again, a tremendous amount of time. But in this case right here, we'll go ahead and say, well, you got to actually select one. Great. And we're connected with the Sage 300 at this point. So we're going to see that document come up. There's what's going to flow into our Sage 100 application, or should I say Sage 300? Sorry about that. And the other thing that you're going to notice, the commitment number has been pre-filled in here. And if we had to create documents from within this application, my suggestion would be wait until it goes into the accounting system. But if we needed to, we could definitely create them from here, create the documents. Well, with that being said, now let's jump into our job cost system. This is the Sage 300 application, job cost. And if we jump over into commitments, and I will look at the list, jump down here. You can see I've done it several times. Matter of fact, I just did it this morning again. Another demonstration. I could say okay. And now here's all the details that have been sent into the commitment side of our accounting suite. So when we look at that, that is saving us a tremendous amount of time for the people like me that takes a little bit of time to enter that information in. Boom, just a click of a button, we've got it accomplished, and it's done. Of course, as you know, makes sense. When I post this, it will be an AP when I receive that invoice from the subcontractor vendor. I'll be able to go ahead and apply those to these particular line items and really get a true idea of where we are with job costing and what we still are committed to as far as the job is concerned. One last thing I'll do, since we are in the job cost system, is jump into inquiries right here and look at the estimate spreadsheet. And what's nice about this is presentation job is the one that I typically would do, is this is what is sent in from our estimating system. All of this detail is sent in from our estimating system, and this is short compared to what a lot of the companies I work with. It usually goes all across down the pane there. But when we look at that, we can drill down into the details And you can see exported estimating estimates. Well, it's interesting that we use that notational value to tell, hey, this came from our estimating, but that's where it came from. So when we look at that, all of that detail, all that layered detail that we have there came from our estimating solution. So again, saving the back office plenty of time from typing all of that detail in, and that's the key to a fully integrated suite of applications. So with that being said, those are the things that I really wanted to highlight today, and I'll go ahead and throw it back over to you, Leilani, and see if there's any questions.
Thank you, Darren. I don't have any questions. If you guys have questions or some requests of things that you'd like to see, again, feel free to send those in via chat or the Q&A box as well. I will be sending out, again, a recording of this presentation, a link to be able to download it, as well as some materials about what this solution will do. Still no questions, so I think we're good. You did a great job, Darren, as always.
Thank you.
So I will, I'll follow up with all of the attendees, everyone, and I'll send you out more information and a recording of this presentation. And again, if you'd like to set up a meeting where Darren can do a more tailored presentation and talk to you a little bit about your specific industry and what you do, we are happy to do that. Go ahead and send me an email and I can set that up for you. Thank you, everyone, for joining in, and we will see you next week for our next presentation.
Bye now.